Our next speaker is Mr. Arnaud Geoffrey Castells. He's a lecturer at the University of Ramon and Universidad de Vic in Spain. His research interest focuses on the interactive non-fiction applied in the case of the interactive documentary. He's a member of the iDocs community, co-editor of the iDocs org portal and iDocs conference. Mr. Arnaud?
Good morning to everyone, and thanks for attending this conference and this presentation. I want to talk on interactive nonfiction applied in the field of education and knowledge transfer. And because one of my hypotheses is that interactive nonfiction projects are becoming pedagogic tools and teaching materials used by the teacher in different contexts. Internet and Web 2.0 offer immense opportunities to enhance some of the classic principles of education and disclosure of knowledge in general. To lead this presentation, I will center on the emerging genre of interactive documentary. That's in the beginnings, it's a mixture of traditional documentary and digital technology for supports offline, for offline supports, such as CD-ROM or DVD-ROM. But nowadays, we have a triple equation. We have the documentary genre, we have plus digital media, and finally the net or the internet. So at the end, we have an interactive documentary for a lot of different supports, like online, like, for example, mobile devices, physical installations, or TV. So, starting from this context, I want to start my speech with a colleague commentary during the eWeek 2011. It's a digital event that we held in Vic, Spain. It's a city 50 kilometers from Barcelona. And a colleague from mine told me that coming from 3D real-time video games, a traditional lecture for a student nowadays is similarly to watch one of the first black and white films of the Lumière's brothers. I know that it's a really hard sentence, but personally I think that current students need a new educational system and model. So I want to try to give some lines or some proposals on that direction. Because in the current ecosystem of digital media, how to display information quickly becomes appreciated when we see how the traditional media and related audiovisual productions, fiction and non-fiction, with certain forms of exhibition and distribution approach, and has increasingly given way to the creation of projects that hybridize the two formulas, information, content, with entertainment, fun. So, starting from this sentence, we pose some of the advantages posed by the new technologies in educational uses. That for us, in that specific field, are open possibilities to create networks of learning, foster cooperation and collaboration between those who wish to learn, facilitate exchange of information and resources, facilitate dissemination and presentation of results and work, facilitate the replenishment, storage and indexing works, provide new ways for the evaluation, provide greater flexibility in many ways, etc. So this is inconceivable in the traditional linear projects, audiovisual projects, and in linear or traditional lectures as well. So starting from that point, I have made, you can see in this slide, this graphic, because if you just focus on the first point, in the traditional lecture or in the traditional audiovisual project, the observer just only makes the act of viewing, but in interactive media, we have to add the points 2, 3, or 4, because, for example, in interactive nonfiction, the people who is just participating, or the user or interactor, can learn, can play, and can share. So we can add some different dimensions to the first dimension, that it's only observing what he's really watching. One of the essential assumptions of the traditional documentary is the desire to organize a story in such a way that is informative and entertaining at the same time. And in this respect, the interactive format must follow tradition and attempt to offer similar experiences that combine as efficiently, originally, and attractively as possible an entertainment with a didactic and or educational dimension. This is possible mainly as a result of the combination of the different modes of navigation and interaction in an application, which enables a multiple exchange between the work and the interactor. First, the act of navigating and visiting various ideas for presenting and structuring content, information, and knowledge implies using game strategies and resources. As a result, using the structure of the interactive documentary and the modes of navigation, users, to a certain extent, play with the opportunities which are offered by the work and which can meet their basic needs, those related to fun and entertainment. Secondly, this strategy, which is similar to the game experience, usually involves a deep sense of immersion for the visitor and prevents their learning from being boring and their need of information and learning from disappearing. The didactic approach offered is therefore attractive and dynamic, and much more so than the approach used in the majority of classic hypertext and in audiovisual forms as well. At this stage, the interactor learns by playing, and after having learned the lesson in a fun, original, relaxed way, can share it with other interactors in real time or whenever appropriate. We therefore see how an interactive documentary or interactive non-fiction in general can satisfy a triple need or desire: that of the player, entertainment; that of the student or the individual with an interest in cultural education issues and or training, and relational concerns at the level of communication with other participants. So it's the explanation of this explained. So finishing this theoretical part of my presentation, I want just to explain some of possible pedagogic tools or teaching materials, as I said at the start, at the beginning of this presentation, because for me, from my point of view, are becoming these projects pedagogic tools and teaching materials used by the teacher in different contexts. For example, as a visual support to illustrate or complement the lectures, the interactive documentary could be integrated in some way, as we can see now, through a hypertext link with a virtual campus. For example, some of the tests or presentation made by students in the class requested by the teacher or peers could be made from conducting searches and concepts required through the parts of modes of navigation and interaction, or as a possible digital application that can replace tests and purely hypertext exercises from the internet. As well, we can assume this to this formula as a teaching tool to teach the teachers themselves, or companies, or producers in audiovisual and multimedia field. And in the more evolved sense of the term, it could work as allowing students to upload their own content about the subject or choose a theme and try to write a theoretical project about that. It could be virtual exams, and the person can choose a particular mode of interaction to do that or to pass exams. And the same application are developed for multimedia handsets and mobile devices, with which the user can view and perform the exercises with attributes such as the ubiquitous and timelessness, for example. That could be some home users. But the question here, the really important question here, is why we believe strongly that this format will be integrated so as to complete the methodological, didactic, and knowledge transmission in institutions such as school, college, universities, academics, and so on. We firmly believe that because the next subjects that will come to the school, there will be subjects called digital natives. So you know that the digital natives, just returning to the sentence at the beginning of this presentation, will conceive the new media as the natural field for them to explore and to learn. So starting from that point, my research just focused on the digital native. You know, it's the guys that have born after more or less 2000. It's about this next generation. So the second part of my presentation is talk about the case studies developed at the University of Vic, because I'm researching at the Universitat Pompeu Fabra in Barcelona. It's a well-known university in Spain. But I apply my research with my students because I'm in the leading of the final degree projects management in the University of Vic, 50 kilometers away from Barcelona. So I produce iDocs, I produce interactive documentaries as these case studies, just following this research with my students from the things that I researched on Universitat Pompeu Fabra in Barcelona. So I will show you two examples briefly. The first is 2.0 Society. It's an audiovisual and online interactive documentary about the social effects of new communication technologies in today's societies. It's produced, we started in 2007, 2008, we finished with 1 hour, more or less. It's a final degree project. It's online, all of these projects are available online for you, if you want to look for or to just surf this. And the interesting thing here, I will show you just a schematic graphic, is that have four different parts, just the interface and the chronological axis, the project, social actors, and participate. The 4-year students of audiovisual communication degree in University of Vic have to develop a final degree project in order to obtain the title at the University of Vic. Students have a whole year and 4 subjects related to create interactive platforms, interactive documentaries, etc., in which the parts have merged into a single audiovisual and multimedia online project. This project just belongs to these final degree projects that I'm showing to you. In the case of 2.0 society, the project was designed to complement a traditional classroom course and thus shows an innovative way to teach in an open model, get the students more involved, interact and contribute to the system, and implement the contents of the course of History of Social Communication taught by Professor Dr. Mon Rodriguez on the web. In turn, this platform is used by several subjects at the University of Vic concerning the digital media field and new technologies area. So you can just hear the schematic, and it's part of the interface, the principal start. And then you have Metamental iDoc, that's an audiovisual online interactive documentary that reflects on the documentary genre. And it's produced in Vic as well. It reflects on the documentary genre. You can see here, this slide, the interface, and it's very interesting because it concentrates a huge amount of information. And if I have 1 or 2 minutes, I will show you briefly the interface. Here you can see the interface of Metamental iDoc. You have 4 different parts. You have the typical parts. You can watch all the film if you want. It's a 1 hour long documentary, more or less. You have, I can just go outside, sorry. Because the screen is really large. It's as we have seen in the case of Metamental Multimedia, this project, sometimes the informational knowledge structure does not fit with the narrative or storytelling objectives. In addition, this project is an experimental method developed at the University of Vic based on the development of different subjects projects in order to enrich and implement the multimedia Final DB platform. What really adds value to the Metamental Doc project is these tribal aspects, the cross-media and transmedia strategy behind, one project with several parts for different platforms, a production conceived as an educational and training tool, acts as a secondary virtual campus for a whole communication college, and one project available online that allows users to upload content, includes a 1 hour long documentary film, 40 interviews, and more than 150 downloadable documents and videos.